Hello, welcome to Stephen Speak. I actually don't know what I'm going to talk about today. I've literally just pressed record in the hope that during the intro song, something comes to mind. I've got a few things whispering around my brain, but I really don't know. I really don't know. Let's see what happens. Welcome to Stephen Speak, the podcast. Unscripted prattle on everything and nothing. Hello, how are you doing today? Thank you very much for joining me again. I noticed I recently posted, you may have noticed, I've noticed because I posted it, that I recently achieved 2,500 downloads for the podcast in total, which might not sound like a lot, but for little old me, I'm quite pleased. So thank you for everyone that's been listening and downloading and staying with me. It means a lot that you put up with my randomness and general prattle, let's say. So yeah, today's episode, I don't know. What should we talk about? Well, firstly, I think I'm just going to go over a little bit of podcasting stuff. Updates. Yeah, I'm going to change the logo and stuff like that. So between season 3, which this is, and season 4, I am actually going to make somewhat of a some sort of valid effort to update stuff. And hopefully, once that's done, I'm going to try and produce some merch, mainly for me going out and about. But I may put it on sale with random people that are sad and would like to purchase some. It's not sad, by the way. Purchase some merch. So I'll let you know. I'll keep you up to date with that. I know I've had not many guests on this season. It's been partly me being super busy. It takes a lot of organisation to get guests on. And also sometimes, like, I've spoke to a few people and we've just not synced up time-wise. So I'm already starting to try and make some efforts for season 4. So I'm going to go and record one on location again next week, which I'm very excited about. It's a reoccurring guest. So I'm very, very excited about that. So there's things coming. Please keep listening and spread the word as well. Like things that I post, share them, comment and blah, 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 algorithms, yada, yada, yada. So what I'm going to talk about today, I think actually is going to be like technology related actually, because I've been thinking about this recently. I've had a conversation about this with someone from work. Microphone, hang on. Considering the cost of this microphone, the actual thing it's attached to is quite shit. And it's not me, by the way. Yeah, so technology. So I'm of the age, and I think there's probably maybe a few years either side of my age. I'm now 40. That there was kind of a shift in technology and how we use it, and like a massive improvement in technology as well, and also demand and keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. Having to have the latest technology. And I've always been a bit of a tech guy. Love having keeping up with new technology, but sometimes I'll wait for something to improve or be refined until I jump in, because sometimes the first iteration of a product isn't that good. But the thing I want to talk about today is mobile phones, because mobile phones were a thing that happened when I was a teenager that became, okay, they've been around for a while, mobile phones. You had to be pretty rich to own one, and coverage was crap. So when I was probably 14, 15, that's when mobile phones started becoming more of a daily thing that people could afford. It wasn't just business users or high tech people or like organizations that used them. It was more getting to the masses. So when I was at school, it was about like 97, 98. I was about 14, 15. I left school in 2000. In the UK, we leave school about 16, then choose to go into college. So I was 16 in 2000. Well, technically I was 16 actually in 1999, because I was like one of the older kids. But that's not what this is about. God, I'll get to the point. But what I'm saying is, like, mobile phones became a thing, and they rushed the market and they flooded the market with all these basic type of mobile phones. Now, a mobile phone is literally like a house phone that you could take outside, because house phones are a thing of the past, really, now. I'm not sure what it's like the rest of the world. Whether I know, like, you still see them on American TV, people speaking on house phones. And I'm not saying that people in the UK don't have them; they do. But I think it's getting less and less because mobile phones. Why would you pay for a landline? We've also got a mobile phone. So yeah, but yeah, an original mobile phone was pretty much like being able to take your landline out with you, but you're just on a different number. They were very, very basic. I'm not going to bore you. Like, most people know that, like, early phones were basic. But they weren't an everyday carry. It was normally people would take them if they knew they would need to phone someone. Like, I'm going out for an extended amount of time, I may need to phone someone. I'm going on a long journey, I'll take my mobile with me. And it wasn't something like my mum and dad, when they first got theirs. My dad, I think, was the first one to get one, along with my brother, because my brother was at university. He opened a bank account and he got a free mobile phone. My dad got a gifted one through the company that he worked for, which was pretty cool. And my mum got one shortly after, and I inherited my brother's mobile phone because it was basically too expensive for him to use while he was at uni. But they were pretty basic. You know, you could save a number into them. Like, I think my mum's phone you couldn't save numbers into. It was literally, you had to remember the number you were dialing. But they were all pay as you go, so it was like no contracted phone. It was like you adding your own balance to them, and you had to pay for per text. You had to pay per minute of calls. Certain numbers were super dear, and again, like, kind of thing like a landline with you. And they were like gimmicky, and let me watch off. Why did he put it on silent? What's going on there? Anyway, sorry if you can hear dinging in the background. It's my stupid watch. Well, not stupid watch. It's just, I thought I'd put on Do Not Disturb or whatever, and it's still dinging. See, I'm getting older now, and technology means little to me. It's laziness, though. It's laziness. Like, I can't be bothered to read manuals and stuff, and I now know why. When I saw my parents, and I was like, why do you not want to know everything about this thing and all the things it can do? I don't care. I've bought it for the things I wanted to do. That's it. Yeah, so my first mobile phone was actually pretty cool. The Philips Savvy, it was called. What a crap name, though. It was quite a small phone for standards then. It was kind of like the Nokia, kind of similar shape to Nokia, where you could take the fascia plates off. What was that? Was that the 6110 or 8110 or something like that? They all had numbers, didn't they, Nokias at the time. You couldn't, like, customize or anything. They came in different colours, I think, eventually. But you had a phone book on it, had a little, like, directional D-pad button thing to select through your menus. Had a couple of games on it, but I can't really remember what the games were. There was like a version of Snakes, I think, on it, which wasn't called Snakes. And then there was like a puzzle game. I don't even remember. And then there was what else was on it? Oh, there was a horoscope thing. You could put the date of birth and today's date, and it would give you a horoscope. Weird, I don't know. But there's no internet on it, though, as far as I can remember. There was no wireless application protocol, which I believe is what WAP stood for. But it was like it was a lifeline, basically. So I could text my mates occasionally on it. I was capped on what I could use. My mum and dad was like, it's for emergencies, don't phone us unless you need it. Don't phone the house phone, phone mobile phone, because it was super dear to phone house phone from a mobile. And it was literally like, that's your emergency thing. Like, you have that phone. It's not to mess with. It's not for socialising with, really. It was kind of bizarre. It was like, you take that out with you, and if you need us, you can phone us wherever you are. And before I had a mobile phone, we had something. My mum and dad were with BT, British Telecom for all landline, and they had a thing at the time where you'd have what was called a charge card. And each member of the family got a charge card, and it had different restrictions or limitations depending on who you were and what was unlocked. So mum and dad, basically, so you had this charge card. It was like a credit card, basically, but it was linked to the family house account. So you type the number in across the front, and then you had your own, like, special PIN code that you put in, and then you could dial any number you wanted. And that call would be registered and go and be added to the bill of your house, which was, like, really, really clever at the time. And it was really useful because it meant that I didn't have to carry a phone with me, even though I really wanted a phone before I got a phone. but it just meant literally I could use anyone. I could use I could call from a friend's house, and instead of like using if they were funny about me using their phone, I could say, well, it won't cost you anything. I'm going to use my BT charge card, or I could use any public phone and type this number in, type this pin code in. The restriction on mine was I could only phone home. Mine, I didn't have to dial a number; it just instantly phoned the house phone. My brother's, he could phone a couple of numbers, and then my mum and dad say we were unlimited. But that was the thing before mobile phones. That was what I had. Other than that, carrying money and putting some money in a slot and dialing a number. So having a mobile phone really opened it up to, not having to try and find a phone. But I was still restricted because like they didn't like me using it, and they'd keep checking on my balance and like how much you're using. And when I got a paper round, I used to pay for my own credit as well. But I can't even remember how much I used to use it. It wasn't even that much, but I can't even recall like how much I used to have to top up. But in my own mind, it was less than a tenner a month. Like, so what's that? Like less than $15 a month. Because I literally didn't use it very often. But mobile phones now have completely changed our lives. Like, they're little computers in your pocket. And I think if you'd have told me, like, back pre-millennium, that you'd have basically a Star Trek tablet in your pocket, a miniature Star Trek tablet where you could watch films, listen to music digitally, because even then, digital music wasn't much of a thing. Like, Napster was kind of a thing. Yeah, so it's really bizarre how like this little device has changed like everything we do. Like I used to remember numbers. I used to remember people's phone numbers back in the day. I could remember my mum and dad's phone number, like the mobile numbers as well, because I kind of had to remember them. Because I got a BT charge card upgrade, as well as I still had my mobile phone, but it was the backup of the phone. So I had to like remember them just in case my battery died. So my number eventually when I changed phones to the Sony J5. Oh, what a phone that was. What an absolutely beautiful... Google Sony J5. In fact, I might even post about Sony J5. It was... I got a Sony J5. I'm going to say again, Sony J5. How many times can you say Sony J5? My dad, through his work, basically got sent loads of SIM cards. He worked for Virgin Trains, and basically they said, "Do you want SIM cards for free?" So I bought a phone through Virgin when I went to college, and I bought this phone. I'm not going to say the name again, and it was lovely. It was absolutely beautiful, and that was probably the first phone. I can't remember where I was going with this, but that was probably the first phone where you'd like kind of customize it a little bit. So it had WAP on it as well, so you could get some internet stuff on it. You could customize the ringtones on that. You can actually record any sound. So, like using the internal microphone, you could record any sound and then set it as like the ringtone or the message tone. And it was just, for me, that was brilliant. But it was such a slim, beautifully designed phone. Very Sony. I was very much a Sony man at the time. I had Sony mini disc. I didn't have a Sony Hi-Fi because I couldn't quite afford a Sony Hi-Fi, so I went for an Iowa one, which I believe are a subsidiary of Sony anyway, or JVC. I can't remember, but great Hi-Fi still. But pretty much everything else was Sony. Headphones, earphones, mini disc player, CD players that I owned, like portable CD players. So yeah, like cassette players as well. Always had Sony cassette players apart from one that I got bought, which was an Iowa. So Iowa and Sony, like hand in hand. That's what I always owned. Yeah, but this phone was beautiful. But you can record your own ringtone. So I love the film Aliens, all the Alien franchise. So I had as my message alert was the "Get away from me, you bitch! Get away from her, you bitch!" Used to go off every time someone sent me a message, which was hilarious until I was in like lessons, and that would go off in a silent classroom, and I got told off many times for that. But my ringtone was like Austin Powers theme for a while, Star Trek themes, like anything that I wanted, I could just record it and make it, and that was so cool at the time. But that for me was the peak of phones. That was the peak of, I got a bit of internet. It was cheaper to run as well. It was like easy, it was the time where it started to be like if you were texting certain people or certain numbers, or you could add certain numbers which became free. So I think you could text any other Virgin network person for free. So like all my family were on Virgin because obviously my dad worked for that, and they got these free SIM cards. It was cheap to text other people. You could add numbers in to make it cheaper. You could add phone numbers in to make it cheaper and stuff like that. So they were kind of working on these deals and edging towards like kind of contract scenarios. Yeah, but that was one of the most beautiful phones I ever owned. Ugh, I wish I had one now actually. Just to frame. It was I would frame it. I'm gonna frame my mini display. I'm not gonna start mini disc, but I'm gonna frame that at some point. Yeah, Sony J5. What a phone. I'm completely in nostalgia land now. And I swapped that phone out for a Sony Ericsson. I upgraded to a Sony Ericsson color screen. And here's the thing that will probably shock people if you're probably like 5 years or more younger than me. Is none of these phones had cameras. Cameras weren't even a thing. Color screens weren't a thing. And my first phone that had a color screen, I think I bought it in like 2001, 2002, maybe a bit later. And it was a Sony Ericsson phone. And I bought it on contract, and this was like when contracts were starting to be a thing. I bought it on a contract, and it had a detachable phone that you could buy separately, the phone attachment. And this was the T68i. So Google that and look at the phone. I might even post it. Really, really nice little phone. Color screen, had battleships on it to play. I think you could even download extra games to it. Had WAP, color screen. And it was just a nice, compact, but like sturdy little phone. Really like that phone. Again, Sony Ericsson, they did that partnership. I still loved my J5, but the J5 I think was a talking phone. That was the phone. It was still aimed at people phoning each other more than I would say texting. Whereas when you were moving on, it was like people text more. So it was like less to do with the screen, less to do with like actual holding your phone. I don't know. That's my view of it anyway. That's how I saw it. But nowadays, you can't go anywhere without your phone. I would leave the house on a night out without my phone. It wasn't essential. It wasn't an essential thing, and now it is. And I don't even know where I'm going with this. What did I start saying? What was the whole concept of this episode? I can't even think. It was just having phones and how they've evolved. I can't even remember what I said now. This is how my day's been, my week, my brain. Yeah, but I've owned like quite a few phones. I'm an iPhone user now. Don't moan. I've had Android, and Android's brilliant as well. But I went from like that Sony Ericsson. I went to Nokia for a bit, like a couple of phones on Nokia. I had that weird diamond shaped one. I don't know if anyone remembers that. It was like a diamond shaped one. And I got that because it was cheap on a contract. And weirdly enough, you think the number pad was either side of the screen. And I've said this before. Mr. Mobile is a YouTube channel that I watch, and if you go on him, he has a series of videos called "When Phones Were Fun." Brilliant series of videos about when phones were fun, when the designs, when clamshell phones came around. I only ever had one clamshell, and again, it was a Sony Ericsson. It might have been a Sony phone actually. No, it was still Sony Ericsson at the time, wasn't it? Yeah. And that was great. It was like a Walkman as well. So that was when digital music started really coming a thing onto phones. But yeah, the whole what was I saying? Oh my god, my brain. Oh, crumbs. Yeah, but I had So I had the Nokia one. So phones were fun. Mr. Mobile, great series. Go and watch it. Like I'm not affiliated. Obviously, he doesn't know who the hell I am. I just really appreciate his videos. And on one of them, he shows like all these weird designs from Nokia and from other companies. And you can see that diamond-shaped Nokia one, which was really weird. But it was actually quite easy to text on. You wouldn't think it. But yeah, so phones, part of our life now. And I must admit, I fiddle with mine quite a lot. But I do everything on it. Like emails, I reply to emails on it. Like podcasting, listen to audiobooks, music, all your apps. You keep up with everything. My life's on this thing, scarily enough. Would I go back to the simplicity of having the Sony J5? I think I would. I think I could sacrifice doing all this on a phone, but I'd have to have a tablet. I would miss the functionality of the phone. But I think for basicness, if I was going away somewhere and I wanted a complete break, but you still needed something, the Sony J5 would be the pick for me. But when I put up a picture of the Sony J5, you're like, that looks shit. Anyway, thank you for listening to my random rambles about mobile phones. I don't know what the premise of that episode was about at all. I don't even know what I said at the beginning about where I was actually going with it. I don't even think I got there, which isn't unusual for me. So yeah, thank you very much. Please keep liking. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll speak to you all soon. You've been listening to Stephen Speak the podcast. Thanks for listening to my unscripted prattle on everything and nothing. Visit stephenspeak.com for updates, information, and my blog. You can follow more updates on social media at StephenSpeakPC. Thanks very much, and I'll speak to you soon.